professor used the evolution theory from the viewpoint of Christianity, the thorough analysis of the descent or origin of man. Lecture 15, Chapter 10, Secondary Sexual Characters of Insects. The Grecian poet Xenakos says, "Happy the Shikeidas live, since they all have voiceless wives. The females are mute. The Shikeidae usually sing during the day, whilst the Fulguridae appear to be night songsters. In the female, the whole complex musical apparatus is present, but is never used for producing sound. With respect to the object of the music, Dr. Hartmann says, the drums are now heard in all directions. This I believe to be the martial summons from the males. I observed the females coming around the drumming males. At the very moment he was uttering his clanging notes. It is probable that the females not only find them by their sounds, but that, like female birds, they are excited or allured by the male with the most attractive voice. The male in the three saltatorial families in this order are remarkable for their musical powers, namely the crickets, the Locustidae for Fiji, there is no equivalent English name, and the Acrididae or grasshoppers. All observers agree that the sounds serve either to call or excite the mute females. With respect to the migratory locusts of Russia, Querte has given an interesting case of selection by the female over male. The males of this species, whilst coupled with the female, stridulate from anger or jealousy if approached by other males. Mr. Bates, in speaking of the European field cricket, says, the male has been observed to place himself in the evening at the entrance of his burrow, stridulate until a female approaches, when the louder notes are succeeded by a subdued tone, whilst the successful musician caresses with his antennae the mate he has won. The most powerful performers are included in the Locustidae. A grating sound thus occasionally and accidentally made by the males, if it serves them ever so little as a love call to the females, might readily have been intensified through sexual selection by variations in the roughness of the nervures having been continuously preserved. In the three foregoing families, the females are almost always destitute of an effective musical apparatus. In most other Locustidae, the females have rudiments of the stridulatory organs proper to the male, from whom it is probable that these have been transferred. The diversity of means for producing sound in the three families of the Orthoptera and in the Homoptera impresses the mind with the high importance of these structures to the males, for the sake of calling or alluring the females. But as throughout the order the sexes rarely differ much in color, it is not probable that they owe their bright tints to sexual selection. That Inimitable observers M. Favre, in describing the habits of chercheres, remarks that fights frequently ensue between the males for the possession of some particular female, who sits an apparently unconcerned beholder of the struggle for supremacy. And when the victory is decided, quietly flies away in company with the conqueror. In this order, slight differences in color according to sex are common, but yet both sexes of certain groups are so brilliantly colored that we are tempted to attribute the result to sexual selection. Müller, who has particularly attended to the habits of bees, attributes these differences in color in chief part to sexual selection. That bees have a keen perception of color is certain. He believes that the colors gained by one sex through sexual selection have often been transferred in a variable degree to the other sex. Some male beetles which seem ill-fitted for fighting, nevertheless engaged in conflicts for the possession of the females. Mr. Wallace saw two males of Raptorhynchus angustatus, a linear beetle with a much elongated rostrum, fighting for a female who stood close by bees at her boarding. They pushed at each other with their rostra and clawed and thumped, apparently in the greatest rage. The smaller male, however, soon ran away, acknowledging himself vanquished. The males of the common stag beetle emerge from the pupal state about a week before the other sex, so that several may often be seen pursuing the female. At this season, they engage in fierce conflicts. When Mr. Davis enclosed two males in a box, the larger male pinched the smaller one until he resigned his pretensions. The two sexes of another American beetle live in pairs and seem much attached to each other. The male excites the females to roll the balls of dung in which the ova are deposited, and if she is removed, he becomes much agitated. If the male is removed, the female ceases all works. Sexual selection, which implies the possession of considerable perceptive powers and of strong passions, seems to have been more effective with the Lamellicons than with any other families of beetles. Finally, it is probable that the two sexes of many kinds of beetles were at first enabled to find each other by the slight shuffling noise produced by the rubbing together of the adjoining hard parts of their bodies, and that as those males or females which made the greatest noise succeeded best in finding partners, rugosities on various parts of their bodies were gradually developed by means of sexual selection into true stridulating organs. See you in the next. Shalom.